Hi friends, it's Audrey here and welcome back to 1824 Walker Farmhouse. If you're new to our channel, we moved my great-great-great-grandparents' 1824 house to our property on the farm where we live. We don't live in the house, but we do use it for many things. When we completed the house and it was all done, a lot of the things in our house that we live in a converted barn that David made into our house. I moved a lot of it up here. So a lot of things that are in this house were in our house that we live in. And that house we're sort of redoing. Not not totally, but our kids are all gone and we have grandchildren. And so we're sort of tweaking it to just the two of us now. We don't need four bedrooms anymore. So today I want to talk about aprons. I love aprons. They were for fashion and function. There's a lot of aprons on beautiful historical costumes that have beautiful embroidery on them. And there's a lot of aprons that were just used and used and used over for fashion and function. So, Jefferson told his daughter, now don't wear those until they're too soiled too much. He wanted her aprons to always look nice. But I would think in the household of the 1800s, and if you were busy doing your own meals and your own things, your apron would have been very soiled. So I sort of like to collect aprons that were used versus aprons that are pristine. Although I have some that are really nice white ones with the turkey foot, the red on it. But, I just love the used ones. I just love the 1800s. I think of Rebecca all the time and wondered like what she did and what she wore. And I'm sure that she would have wore aprons. So I'm going to show you some of my soiled aprons that I just think are precious. After watching a movie, Sense and Sensibility, a Jane Austen movie, I decided I'm going to keep the bonnets and the aprons and the work aprons at the front of the house. Originally, I was thinking all in the back, but I loved it when they came in from the front door on their cottage. They had a little space there with the pegs, and they kept their aprons and their bonnets there. My granddaughter was here over the weekend, so she kindly modeled these for me. We're going to explain them to you. I just wanted to show you the fabrics up close. This brown one is a brown calico. It's an early one. And the next brown one is homespun, and it was done on a loom. It's an early one. And you could see here there's tattered and, it looks like they were bleached a little bit. Some a little bit of marks that were over the years either in storage. And these three is also considered homespun, but they were done in the mill, so they were manufactured versus the loom. And I think if you have one apron, two aprons, you can make aprons easy. They just look so nice hanging on pegs or just one on the corner of a cupboard. It just adds a nice little 1800s decoration to your home. It was such a pleasure to work with my granddaughter. We had some fun time doing this. When I looked into the history of aprons, the first apron that's been recorded in a picture is the year 1300. So they really do go far back. This here, she's wearing the blue skirt with the blue calico apron. They were from the turn of the century. And this apron I bought at a local farm sale. I bought a lot of things at this farm sale. This apron, I just wonder if it was somebody's specials, like grandma's apron or a young girl that they loved and they just kept it. It's not in really good condition. It's tattered at some of the edges. It has rust marks on it. It wasn't dirty, but it's not in perfect condition. It has some holes in it here and there. I also wondered, in the old days, they would save fabric to use for another project. So maybe this is the case. They would maybe just cut out some of the good parts and make a tea towel, put it in a quilt. You know, they never threw things out in those days. And the bonnet also was in the box, and it's a young girl's bonnet. It just fits her perfectly. You know, when I talk about Rebecca in my videos, Rebecca was my great 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 grandmother, and I was thinking when we were doing this how she would just really love my granddaughter Kinley. Here she is putting on a bonnet for me, and this is an early bonnet, and it's an early apron. The apron is a brown calico, and it's from the 1800s, and they would pin the top part on with a straight pin. So I was thinking, boy, you better make sure that you pin that on good. And here you can see the straight pin closer, and that's how they would attach this. Here she is crushing the rosemary for me. I think she just looks so precious, and she did such a good job. Kinley, I want to thank you so much for modeling all the aprons.
You're welcome.
My favorite information about the history of aprons is that they wore aprons on top of aprons. They did it in the 1800s and they did it in the early 1900s. It was Thomas Jefferson that told his daughter not to get her apron too soiled, and he was referring to her outer apron. And in Sense and Sensibility, at the end, Eleanor Dashwood takes off her work apron outside and comes in, and she's presentable with her apron on top of her outfit. So she wore an apron on top of an apron. This is one of my favorite photos that I have. This photo was taken at the Walker homestead. That's my relatives whose house we moved. And you can tell she has an apron on top of an apron. And that just makes me so excited to have a picture of somebody with an apron on top of an apron at the old Walker farm. This was taken on thrashing day, the day they did all the threshing with the wheat in the field. I was told all the neighbors came. They all helped each other. They had mashed potatoes and roast beef and chicken and ham. And I was told they had all the fixings like pickles and beets, and all the ladies made homemade bread. So this just tickles me that I have a picture of a woman at the Walker farm with an apron on top of an apron. And look at the scallops. Isn't this like just the best? So here's Eleanor in her work apron. She comes inside. She wants to be presentable for Edward, and they take off the work apron and she puts it right at the doorway where I like to keep my aprons, sits down, and then when she gets up, you can see there's an apron over her dress. Well, here's my model, Farmer Dave.
Actually, I don't wear an apron a whole lot, but for a special occasion, I'll put one on.
Well, thank you so much. You make a wonderful model.
Thank you.
So the subject today, honey, I'm going to do a little bit about textiles and aprons, and tell me why we bought this apron.
Well, if you saw some of our past videos, we have an affection for feed sacks. So
now you have a big affection for feed sacks.
Well, maybe I stated that wrong, but yeah. Feed sacks. And this apron was made of feed sacks.
Right. It's, what's it say? Eastern States.
Excuse me.
Eastern States Farmers Exchange, Springfield, Massachusetts. And it's a number 48. But they would have had that fabric and just at the manufacturer, right? Make feed sacks.
Yeah, it's a great cotton material.
Yeah. So that's probably from what year do you think? The 40s?
I guess. And just it didn't have an easy life. It got a few holes in it, so it wasn't a wall hanger like we do nowadays with some of our aprons. But
and I think what's neat about it is they put blue trim on it, so they matched it. But you have that on inside out.
Okay, I'll switch it around. We did that for you guys.
Okay.
I now have it on the correct way, not inside out. 2 pockets the lady put in that made this lovely apron. But I said I'm not a really wear apron a lot. I did wear apron. I was a welder in a steel mill, and I blacksmith a little bit too. So we wore aprons, welding sparky, and it protects you a lot. When you're grinding, it's really good to have a leather. Those aprons were leather, and my blacksmithing apron's leather too.
So men wore aprons too.
Yeah. So
which is interesting. That's part of the history of aprons. Well, thank you so much, Farmer Dave. You don't use an apron for farming, though, do you?
Not that I can recall.
Dave was very fortunate to be featured in Early American Life magazine, and he did some work for them. And when you received your item, you got a postcard with Dave on it working on your item. And he also does workshops. And one of the first things he talks about is protecting yourself and your clothing. And his apron here is made out of leather.
I want to thank you all for watching Audrey's story on aprons. And we would like you to click subscribe and share and give us a thumbs up. Thanks again for watching our channel, and we'll see you real soon. Bye.
As Dave said, thank you so much for watching the video. We really appreciate it. We'd love for you to hit the notification button so you don't miss a thing. We'd love for you to subscribe and share our channel. If you like 1800s like we do, please hit the like button, and we love your comments and answer all of them. Have a great day, everyone.